Write everything down.
I love journaling. For me, my journal is a creative outlet, a self-improvement method, a memory book, and so much more. Journaling helps me turn my abstract thoughts into something physical. The process is almost cathartic. I think one of the most important things a person can do is write. Write everything down.
For me, journaling isn't just like a self-improvement method. It can be really anything I want. It's my junk journal. I keep a bunch of like sentimental scraps and stuff like that in there. It's my sketchbook. I use it as a memory book and just so much more. For a long time, I was very scared of forgetting about things. I don't know why, but for the longest time, I would just write everything down. Like anything that happened that day, I'd write it down in here or one of my other journals and just have it saved in case I needed to refer back to a log of my life one day. And from there, my journaling just stemmed into something so much more. I hosted a journaling event as an RA in college. Here's some pictures. At this point in my life, I have completed about 7 journals, I think. I started freshman year of high school and am still going now. I only have about 4 of them though, because 3 of them were stolen. Womp womp. But that's besides the point. We're here today to discuss journaling and why it's so important and why I think you should write everything down. But what exactly is journaling? Like I said earlier, journaling can really be anything you want. I use my journal for so many different things, and you can too. You could have a physical journal like mine. You could use your notes app. You could just like use a spiral notebook or a composition book. It can really be anything. You can even just like type in a Google Doc if that's what you want to do. Personally, for me, I prefer to have physical media because I like to see my thoughts being like put down into something physical, and then it feels like it's been released into the world. And then along with what medium you want to use for your journal, there's also so many different types of journals you can make. So you can make a bullet journal, which just has like your goals for the month, anything you want to accomplish. And then it's just like a good way to track habits and like growth throughout the month. There's also just like, I guess it would be called a diary, but just like writing about the things that happen in your life and like your thoughts and feelings and all that stuff. And then you can also do a manifestation journal, which is a book where you can keep all your manifestations. So that's when you just write over and over again something that you believe or want to believe will happen and then hope that you speak it into the world. You could do a junk journal, which is just putting scraps of different sentimental pieces of paper, like concert tickets, stuff like that, in your journal so that you have them in a safe place. Sorry, I think my cat just knocked something over in the other room. But personally for me, I like to mix them up, so my journal is just literally anything I want. You don't have to be constricted to one rigid guideline.
All of my journals have had so many different iterations and forms. I started off in high school by just adding more and more blocks of text into a notes app titled Stories by Sylvia, but this eventually got way too long and I was tired of scrolling to the bottom of the note every time I had an interesting thought. So after that, I went to Hobby Lobby and got myself a fancy moleskin journal. I loved that thing. I originally used it as a sketchbook to sketch portraits and write down weird snippets of information I found interesting, but that journal is now lost to time, but I've come a long way since then. Now, I use my journal as a mix of everything I've mentioned before. It holds my sentimental junk, it serves as a memory book, a sketchbook, an idea journal, a bullet journal, and really anything else I need at the moment. I use it like I'm having a conversation with myself and work through different situations or worries I may have.
Okay, so we now get what journaling is, but why is it so important? Why is this crazy lady talking about it like all the time? I don't like tea. I believe journaling is so important because it helps promote self-reflection. It gives you a chance to put all the thoughts you might have in your head onto paper, out into the world, and just see like things from a new perspective. I feel like if you keep things wrapped up in your head, you're gonna overthink them, you're gonna freak out about something, but if you put it on paper, you're forced to simplify it because you don't want to be writing for pages and pages. And it also helps us build our emotional intelligence because you're forced to look at things from a new perspective or to process things on your own before like going to someone and freaking out about it. Journaling also helps us track growth. It's good to just have things written and like set in stone of what you're feeling that day or like what your goals are in the future, so then you can look back on that journal one day and see what you accomplished or see how your thought process has changed over time. It's also a good stress relief method in my opinion. It's very calming to just sit down with a pen and some paper and just write. It helps you quiet your mind, and it's a good way to get your mind off of things that might be stressing you out. This might not necessarily be the case for everything, but in my personal experience, once you write things down, you just feel a bit lighter. The weight of whatever you were thinking about has been taken off of you. Not everyone might be into this, but a side note, journaling is one of the easiest ways to become famous in the future. The only reason some of these like super ancient people are famous now is because they wrote everything down. So maybe one day, many years in the future, someone will come across your journal and they'll see like what people ate back in 2024, and you'll end up in a museum. That's just a little mini reward that could come from journaling one day, a long ways away.
Journaling serves as a personal recollection of your thoughts and memories at any given time. It's a time capsule for your future self. If you regularly write things down, you can look back and see yourself in a different light. It gives us perspective. People change a lot in 1 year. Sometimes I look back on things I wrote just a year ago and I see a completely different person. Journaling lets us see how silly certain things are. Some things may have seemed huge a year ago, but looking back, you'll be confused why a situation ever warranted 8 pages of writing. Journaling helps you understand yourself better and allows us to have empathy for our past selves. It helps us understand the passage of time and lets us understand that things will get smaller with time. Journaling serves as a memory book. I love looking back at concert wristbands, receipts, and excerpts I've written about funny moments. Half the time I'll reread certain passages like a book because I've completely forgotten a story I wrote about. It's a physical record of your life that you'll be grateful to have to look back on.
Another reason for why journaling is important is it can serve as a memory book. Journaling is one of the best ways that you can ensure that you're able to look back on your memories and remember how good things are. So how would you start journaling? You could start by 1, not thinking of it as a chore. I feel like things become a lot less enjoyable if we think that we have to do them and not something that you're truly enjoying. So the first step is to just think of it as a fun hobby. You're not being forced to journal. You shouldn't force yourself to journal. You should do it because you want to. And then you can start building a routine, and then soon enough you'll build up this habit and it'll come naturally to you. But don't be consistent to a fault. Don't build it up in your head as this big thing and think, oh no, if I miss one day, I have to stop forever. Don't do that. There's really no one holding you accountable except yourself. So if you miss one day, that's okay. Just get back on it whenever you can. And it's not the end of the world. And if you can't think of anything, you can always Google some prompts online. I'll actually link some below if you need some of those, so you can take a look at that. And you can also just try writing about your day. That's what I do. I think that's the most fun kind of journaling because you just like see progress over time of what you're doing, how you think about things. And it's just one of the easiest things you can write about because even if you did nothing that day, you still did something. Like at least you ate, so you can write what you ate. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. Remember that your journal doesn't have to be perfect. Unless you want a historian in the future to look through your archives, but unless that's your goal, these journals are just for you, and it doesn't matter if you mess up because no one's perfect. But I know a lot of people are intimidated by writing in the first page of expensive journals, so you can always just skip that page for now and come back to it when you're in the mood to like draw something fancy. Or if you're just intimidated by the thought of getting like a nice moleskin journal or something, you can literally just get like a cheap piece of paper, start writing on that. That might help prevent the mental block of starting to journal, and then it just lets you like write whatever you want because you're not building it up in your head as like this big thing.
I think it's also helpful to have what I call a journal kit. I like to draw something related to what I write about, so mine just has some colored pencils, a pen, a paintbrush, and some stickers. It truly doesn't matter if your journal is aesthetic or not. I just prefer that mine is because I treat it as a sketchbook. It's just helpful to have all of the things I commonly use on hand, and it helps prevent the mental block of starting if all the things that I need are easily in one accessible place.
Yay, we finally made it to the end of the video. Thank you all for staying around this long, and I hope you learned something. I think it's one of the most important things you can do for yourself, and I hope each and every one of you picks up on this habit. Like I said before, journaling is more than just a record keeper. It helps you track your own personal growth, it helps build up emotional intelligence, and it helps you see new perspectives. I think everyone should start writing things down today, because even just a few sentences can bring you closer to understanding your own personal story. Honestly, I've even started to consider this, making videos, as a form of journaling, because I am putting my thoughts out into the world, so welcome to my journal, I guess. But I hope you all learned something from this video, and if you used any of these tips or are into journaling already, leave a comment down below telling us your experiences. I'd love to hear from you guys. Alright, thank you so much everyone. Bye!